And then in 2 weeks, we're going to Polly's Island, and I'll take both there. We're going to meet some friends there. And my preference will be the kayak there, but if anybody wants to play around with the paddleboard, we'll have it. I imagine you've been out.
Yeah, I'm up to 1,040 miles for the year. So that's the good news. Bad news is I have to keep this pace up if I want to make 20,000 miles by my 77th birthday.
How old are you now?
74. And just 74 and 3/4. So 2/3.
You've got your goal. Yeah, I've missed being out there with you.
Yeah. Going down Monday down to Lake Russell and go out with this guy, Dennis Andrews. So, I only do about 10 miles. He has some lung issues, but he still gets out. Did you ever meet Jim Lehman? He has that drop foot where he can hardly even move his foot, but he still goes out kayaking. It takes him like 20 minutes to get him into the boat.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Enjoy the service. Thank you. That was wonderful. I was tapping my toe up here. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. We're located on the land of the Eastern Cherokee and the Southern Iroquois. It is so good to be with you, especially with this opening with this cheery music. My name is Kathy Crain. I'm a member of the fellowship here and a part of the UUFC Worship Associate team. This fellowship is a religious community grounded in the values of justice, equality, transformation, with liberating love at the center of Unitarian Universalism. In this space, you are invited to engage with worship in the ways that feel comfortable to you. That might include activities such as coloring, knitting, or fidget toys, I actually wrote postcards to Virginia voters when I was in UU meeting yesterday. Got them all done. You also might want to stand, move your body if you need to, or move someplace else in the seats. It might include clapping or vocal responses or remaining quiet. If you're visiting with us this first time this morning, welcome. If you are comfortable standing and introducing yourself, thank you, Karen. I'm sorry to point at you. Karen can bring you a microphone and you can introduce yourself to us. Any visitors who would like to introduce yourself?
Glad to be with you today. I'm Tim Bertone. I've known Tom and Karen for many years now, so I'm here. So thank you.
Welcome, Tim.
Hey there, I'm Erin Noel McFerrin. I just moved here from Statesboro, Georgia, where we were at the UU there. So happy to be at a new UU.
Welcome. If you are joining us online, we're glad you're here with us virtually. If you'd like more information about Unitarian Universalism, please see information about us on our website, uufc.org, and you can sign up for our weekly newsletter. Our settled minister, Reverend Holly Brown, is away today. Reverend Holly and Holly Ulbrich and I were together at Skuja yesterday at the UU Church in Columbia, South Carolina, where I got my postcards finished. Skuja is South Carolina UU Justice Alliance. And I want you to know that we are in good hands with this social justice organization from Skuja. Skuja is on top of the South Carolina legislative issues, told us that what we do matters, reaching out to our South Carolina legislators matters, and what we do together matters. It was a hopeful time to be together, and I know it can be a little bit hard to find hope these days, but it was good to be with them. So Reverend Holly is in Atlanta today with a friend who has just experienced a significant loss and will be back with us this next week. We are then delighted to welcome our visitor to the pulpit today, who, with the Google search, comes with many different angles. And I learned about a TED Talk. It's a 14-minute TED Talk where this visitor was introduced as a 320-pound white Republican man. Well, talk about life transitions. Jaime Fivecoat left the Republican behind, left the obesity behind, transitioned, and Jaime will tell us more about that. Jaime is also on the board for the Queer Wellness Center. You see in our offering on here, it says that our shared plate today is the ripple of one. When we have a fifth Sunday, then we choose another organization. When was it? It was a couple months ago when we had a fifth Sunday. I can't remember my calendar, but let's just say it was a couple. In August. Thank you. In August, we had a fifth Sunday, and we chose to give our offering that Sunday to the Queer Wellness Center in Greenville.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we were extremely generous. I was just so very proud. Jaime is on the board of the Queer Wellness Center. Number one, I had never heard of it before. Number two, it's in Greenville. So proud to be partners with that. So we look forward to hearing from Jaime Fivecoat this morning. And I'm just so proud to have represented our fellowship yesterday at Skuja. Talk about some of the opportunities and activities coming up. We thank the folks who are listed at the top of the order of service for their volunteer work today. Second Sundays at noon, the Buddhist study group meets here. And Cindy, there's one here that did not make our order of service. And I want to let you know that the Welcoming Congregation Recertification Team is hosting a dinner.
It's under more.
I looked and looked and looked. I still don't see it. So it's
One under social action.
oh, social action. Thank you, Cindy. Where it says join the Welcoming Congregation Team for a documentary and dinner. We are used to doing potlucks here. This is not a potluck. The Welcoming Congregation Recertification Team. We're going to watch a documentary called Pay It No Mind. Had you heard of Marsha P. Jackson? An activist? I never had heard of her before. And so I look forward to sharing that opportunity with you. Yeah, lots of good stuff going on here. Anybody want to point out one that's on the back order of service? Okay. With that, we will move to the opening words. And you see Gandhi, so you know what I'm going to say. And I want to share with you that when I read about Gandhi and these particular words, Gandhi was trying to say that in order to make effective change in this world, we must first alter our personal nature. When we do that, the world is a whole new place for us to make change with our new perspective. If we wait for others to take action on our behalf, we'll be waiting a lifetime. So, of course, the words are, if you want to say them with me, be the change that you wish to see in the world. Thank you. And now let's move to hymn 1053 in the teal hymnal or up on the screen. Stand as you are willing and able. Thank you. Cody, may I ask you to come and light our chalice, please? The words for the chalice lighting are in the order of service. We gather together in a spirit of love with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with
As many of you are aware, one of my favorite parts about this job is the fact that I get to play with children's books, even though my children are so grown that I don't have that as an excuse anymore. So I was delighted when our guest speaker this morning gifted us this wonderful little book for our collection. It's called The Rainbow Sheep by David Hayward. Ricky lived with a flock of sheep. When one slept, they all slept. When one ate, they all ate. When one baaed, they all baaed. They all dressed the same too, every single day. One day, a new sheep joined the flock. His name was Rainbow. The other sheep didn't like that Rainbow was different. Blend in, be like us. Please wear this. Ricky wasn't sure she wanted to be friends with Rainbow either. But then, Ricky had always wanted to do the fun things she saw Rainbow doing. She was just afraid to be the only one. Maybe now that Rainbow was here, Ricky could try it too. Ricky and Rainbow jumped up and down. They stomped through puddles. They danced with butterflies. The other sheep told Ricky that she was standing out too much. What a bad influence. But she wasn't just worried about being so different anymore. One day, Ricky decided to show her true color. You're so brave. I look fabulous. Can I play? Me too? Then one day, the rest of the flock announced a meeting. Were they angry? Everything's changed since Rainbow arrived. You're out of line. Everyone is acting different. We would like to know, can we play too? No more all being the same. When one slept, others stayed awake. When one ate, others waited until they were hungry. When one baaed, others stayed quiet. They could all be themselves, unique, special, happy, just like Rainbow.
Thank you, Karen. I mentioned before that we have quarterly benevolences, which is the practice at UUFC. As stated here on the order of service, the benevolence for this month is the ripple of one. So 1/4 of all designated funds collected today will go to the ripple of one. Thank you for your generosity. For those online, if you would like to donate online, you can go to the donate page on the uufc.org. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity for our fellowship. At this time, we enjoy sharing celebrations and concerns as a part of our community. Holly Ulbrich shares a joy. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me explain what Jamie's doing. Jamie has learned our practice that with each joy and concern shared, Jamie will put a stone in the vessel, signifying our community. Thank you, Jamie. Holly Ilbrook shared a really good gathering of the UU clan across the state yesterday in Columbia. I agree. Cody shared a joy. I got to be usher this morning and say hi to everyone. Hi, Cody. A sorrow has been shared. We remember and honor the life of Dr. Jane Goodall. And then Carol Ward's friends share a joy. Carol Ward has been transferred back to Clemson Downs. She is in the healthcare facility there. Marguerite Kirsch also continues to receive care there, so we're hoping that they'll get connected while there. Cards are welcome. And finally, we place one last stone for any unmentioned joys and concerns. Thank you. And now let's sing our children off to their RE classes. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you. As Jamie Fivecoat approaches, I forgot to mention that I slipped out during Scooja yesterday and visited Columbia Pride during a lunchtime break. So it wasn't really bad, but it was kind of sneaky. And I got Jamie a sticker there. May I welcome to the pulpit, Jamie Fivecoat.
The rest of you all. Oh, I don't have my microphone. I'll get it. I do that all the time when I have one of these mics on. Always forget to turn it on. So anyway, we're going to do a guided meditation. I hope you enjoy the music that will play in the background with it, and we will go from there. So you may close your eyes, you may leave them open, sit however is comfortable for you. Think about a spot on the balls of your feet. It's called the kidney 1 spot. Energy follows thought. A Prayer for Peace by St. Francis of Assisi. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. So in the bulletin, my talk is called Life Transitions. I added a subtitle to it. Moving from fear to pure joy to enhanced beliefs. Now, as Kathy mentioned, I wasn't always like you see me today. I spent the first 60 years of my life with white male privilege. It's an acknowledgement that I like to make before I talk to any group. I quit college for a class on family counseling. And it was a very engaged class. And the professor, in fact, this is like 2 hours and 15 minutes into the whole process. The professor looked at me and she says, "We got time for one last question," and she asked it. She's this beautiful lady, and she looked straight at me and she said, "So do you feel shame for having had that privilege?" It was the first time in that whole 2.5 hours that I had to pause to figure out what I was actually going to say to that. The answer was no. I didn't feel shame for having had the privilege. But I did feel shame for being unaware that I had that privilege. Because it's in the awareness of our privilege. It's in the awareness of how we present ourselves and carry ourselves throughout this world that truly does make a difference. Back a long time ago, I'm 73 right now. And so it was a real long time ago, back about 1956. I was around the age of 4. And I had known my whole life that there was something different about me. I know, how can you say, how can a 4-year-old know that? Well, because when you're not what everybody says you are, you know. I had one of my colleagues at work, who actually was on my team when I transitioned, and for support, kept asking me, "How did you know? How did you know?" Finally, I asked her, "How did you know?" "Well, I just knew." I said, "Yeah, I just knew." And that's how I knew that there was something different. I just didn't know what it was at that time. We didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have, for a matter of fact, I had no idea that there was anybody else in this world that was really like me. But then I had an uncle that did a traumatic, wasn't physical, but it was very mental event. So that at the age of 4, I realized I had to hide who I was. Nobody knew my secret until I was in college, and my wife Karen and I, we've been married now 51 years. She caught me dressing up. And my secret was out of the, and it scared the dickens out of me that somebody knew my secret. But Karen was okay, pretty much supportive. And we eventually, in like about a year and a half later, got married. So it didn't make a difference to her from that standpoint. As with any marriage, we had issues, And as I moved through my career and I had some good success, one of the ways I learned to hide and work was an addiction. By the way, by that time in my life, it was becoming very noticeable that food was an addiction for me. And even though I never admitted it and never noticed it, alcohol was becoming a little bit of an addiction for me. But in 1985, after I finished my MBA, in 1985, I decided I was going to do I was an internal consultant. We were BF Goodrich at that point in time. And so right up the road from us, we lived in Akron, Ohio, was the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland. And so I went to the Gestalt Institute of Cleveland and decided one of the instructors who became our psychologist, and they were psychologists, and we had to have 52 hours over this 2-year period of counseling. Karen and I used about 30 of those, maybe more, in couples counseling, which was very important to us. But at the very beginning of that counseling session, I had to take a test called a survey or an instrument called the MMPI, MMPI. And it was that instrument that allowed the psychologist to be able to determine if there were any underlying diagnoses that they needed to be aware of and that could get in the way of some of the work that we were going to do. I was diagnosed with a gender disorder. Now, I said I was a consultant. My boss happened to be a psychometrician, and we did a lot of that kind of work. So I recognized the questions that were on there, and for the first time in my life, I decided I was going to admit what was going on. And so I completed the questionnaire as honestly as I possibly could. The great thing is that diagnosis didn't mess with our marriage. We had a lot of other issues we had to deal with. All of y'all who are married know what I'm talking about there. But it drove that fear that I had. Remember I said we went from fear? Well, that fear started at 4, that fear got even darker then, because it was wrapped up around the fact that they could fire me. I could lose my position at the very least. I could be moved into something I didn't really want to do. And so I hid it even more. And of my life, that much fear for a 36-year-old, imagine what it's doing for the children today who know who they are, who have all these resources or had all these resources, and now are constantly being bombarded about telling them how bad they are, about how horrible they are, how they don't have the right to exist as they are. We talked about doing things. I've visited the state capitol and stuff like that. I've heard some of these senators talk to mothers of trans children, telling the mother, you're who we're trying to protect your children from. What bull. Suicide ideations and attempts increased by 72% in the states where those bills are introduced. Guess what? They've been introduced in every state now. Anyway, back to my story. To give you an idea of my mindset back then, so this is around 1988, I was singing in a choir at Trinity Lutheran in Akron, Ohio, and 4 churches came together, and we brought over Sir David Wilcox from England. Beautiful composer, musician, wonderful conductor. And we did a workshop with him. We did Rudder's Gloria. We had a little 26-piece orchestra, orchestra that was pulled together from the Cleveland Orchestra, actually. And so we did that workshop. It was in St. Paul's Episcopal Church. We used St. Paul's because they had the little boys' choir. So we even had a boys' choir to do those soprano parts. It was wonderful. I can remember sitting in the sanctuary of St. Paul's Episcopal Church and praying and being so thankful that God would allow me to be there because of who I was. That I knew I didn't deserve it, but thank you for letting me be there. But what I've come to learn, what was really deep inside at me at that point in time, and it's not a good thing for resolving karma, was that I really hated the male part of myself. And that was tough. It means my relationship with other men wasn't always that good either. We continued on. Food, you heard at one time about 350 pounds. In 2003, I resolved the food issues. I resolved alcohol issues in 2011. It took, oh, by the way, just a little aside, I say this to every group I talk to. Anybody who resolves food issues by having the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery, you need to understand, it's a great surgery. Really, really helped me. It's a good tool. But if you drink, after having that surgery, one drink puts your blood alcohol level at 0.08. One drink. It goes in like an IV. And your inhibitions go away as if it went in like an IV. And so you just keep on doing it. But did resolve the alcohol because it was a big issue for me. But you know what? It was during that time, so this is just in 2011, that my counselor asked me, do you think you'll ever transition? I said, I don't think that will ever be in the clouded mind. That was and a half years before I did start the process, truly start the process. I had been micro-transitioning for most of my life, especially since the 90s. And, but I really went in, and then in the fall of 2013, Karen looked at me one day and said, it's time, isn't it? And I said, yes, it is. So it became a project. The end of that project, which took a lot of time, and it wasn't always easy, and it took a couple of court orders and some drama there, not fun drama, and but it worked. And the end result of going through that process, of getting all my paperwork to come to where it needed to be, was a sense of pure joy that I never knew could possibly exist. It blew my mind. But you know what? That never, because alcohol will mask the good as well as the bad. It never could have occurred had I not transitioned. It was wonderful. Finally, in 2016, I retired. That resolved the work addiction that I had. Or maybe, because then I started volunteering, and my volunteer work is wrapped around advocacy. In 2023, I had the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. In 2005, I started being an advocate for the treatment of that, and then helped form an organization called the Obesity Action Coalition. Celebrated 20 years of doing the work that we do. We're now internationally known. and it's truly amazing. What I started to be able to do the things when I retired that I liked was we went on our first cruise since I'd stopped drinking. A cruise was a big trigger for me, and it was fine. And but the other thing that occurred was I stopped going to church. Now, I grew up Presbyterian, married Lutheran, had that liturgical stuff, really liked it, and really love it right now. I call myself now Lutheran with a Universalist twist. As you can see by the meditation, have started learning spiritual healing, energy healing, subtle energy healing, learning about subtle energy bodies, and learning about all kinds of stuff along there. Thus, the move to enhanced beliefs. So that we stopped going to church primarily because of rejection. Karen had been the church secretary of that congregation. She had been there we'd been there for a long time, for about 18 years. And they started rejecting us because of my transition. Literally had people walk out of the service when I walked in. And yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. But anyway, so we just kind of stopped going until I found Trinity Lutheran downtown. And we are an extremely open and every Sunday we mention the fact that we honor, we love, we acknowledge, we celebrate. This is Greenville, downtown Greenville. And so that's where I'm going now, and it's wonderful. But last year, it was in July, it was as we're getting ready for our 50th wedding anniversary, I decided to do some work outside, and, excuse me, overdid it. You know, those good temperatures in July in late June and July in our area. So the temperatures were in the 90s and skirting around 100. And so it wasn't good. And I, a couple of times, got a little heat exhaustion from doing it. But the work had to be done before the party. And we couldn't do the party on our anniversary because that was June 29th. We did it the week later because June 29th was Black Pride. And I was part of the team producing Black Pride, one of the most intersectional Black Pride events in the nation. It is wonderful. So we did all that, I was doing all that, and I noticed during the party a little bit that something wasn't quite right with one of my eyes. But it wasn't that bad. A week later, I went to this festival called the Wild Goose Festival, and if you ever have the opportunity to go to the Goose, take it. They do it up in just a little bit north of Statesville. It's a camp, you can glam camp, you can pull in an RV, you can do like Karen and I do and go to a hotel. And so anyway, so I went to the Goose and my eye was getting worse. I just could tell that things just weren't working like they were supposed to. And so I went to the Episcopalians had a tent there, and they did a Eucharist, and they did a healing service. So I went to that. And then I got guided, literally guided, to go to the Healing Arts tent and attend this lecture on energy healing. So I went, thought this sounded really interesting, met the person who was doing it, Kendall. She's my teacher now. And so after I had a session with her, and after I had that first session with her, we had driven up to Boone, and because it was late on a Friday day, Friday night, we stayed in the hotel and then drove home the next morning. And as we're driving back, Karen looks at me and says, "Do you realize you're not doing the speed limit all the time?" I said, "Yeah." She said, do you realize you're not yelling at everybody? I said, yeah. And she said, how long is this going to last? I said, I don't know. She liked it. And it did. It lasted about a week. And I had a couple more sessions with Kendall. She invited me to go to training. I started doing training in April, and then the awakenings really started to occur. And so I'll be more than happy after the service is over. I'll answer any questions that anybody may have along those lines about what that brings and what that means, because it's a long story all by itself. But in doing that work, in allowing my full spiritual self to become awake, I'm learning how to love my whole self. How important it is to let go of that hatred that I had for a piece of me. Oh, I love it when I talk like it, because I can feel the energy flowing. My higher mind. And it's taking me a while, a lot of reflection, a lot of meditation. I meditate at least once a day. Realizing that reflection of myself is how I thought about other men in the world. It's funny because with all that time that I worked with Upstate Pride and the work that we did there, I loved the gay men, but they were in a different place than what I had experienced at work. Letting go of that self-hatred is allowing me to have a deeper connection with my full self and also with my guides, angels, masters, and teachers. It's a journey that's nowhere near I think. There's so much to learn. But it's a journey that in spite of what's going on in the world. Because if you think the kids are the only ones affected by all those bills and all those things and all that hate coming out of our government, it's not. It affects all of us. It affects all of us in the LGBTQ community. It affects all of us in every marginalized. To get this world to the place it needs to be. Develop within yourself a self-love, a love that is so strong that it allows you to stand up for what you know needs to be stood up for, that allows you to know and believe not only in your own love, but in the love from the source, from the universe, from God, from the divine, however you think of it. Know that that love is there for you. It is the source of all life. So like I said, I'll be happy to address any questions about the LGBT part, the transition parts, and all that kind of stuff after the service, however you want to organize that. And I'll close by saying, may we all be whole and at peace within ourselves and with each other. Amen.
Thank you so much, Jaime. And now, let's sing This Little Light please stand as you are willing and able.
I don't. I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Is there something you'd like me to do? Let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you for being with us today. Go in peace, believe in peace, be the peace.